The holiday season is known for bringing family and friends together and creating happy memories. But for some, holiday memories are surrounded by tragedy.
This month, we will be sharing one unsolved missing person story every single day. We hope sharing their story will help bring them home for the holidays. Kathryn Rebecca LaMadrid lived in a small town of Fort Bragg, California. This is a coastal town in Mendocino County. The population is just under 7,000, and it's home to a glass beach. So this is how this whole glass beach came about. Years ago, this was a spot where people would dump their glass, their appliances, old vehicles, like anything that they really wanted to get rid of. Eventually, leaders would close up this area, clean it up, and decades later, the glass that was left out there mixed with the sand smoothed out because of all the constant waves, and it is beyond beautiful now. It's very weird, but it somehow became beautiful. And you can walk on it and it looks like pebbles, but it's glass. Very beautiful. All different colors as well.
I think I see a lot of people creating a lot of stained glass items or like mosaic things out of the glass rocks.
Yes, exactly. So Katheryn, who went by Kathy, was born on October 25th of 1964, and she spent most of her life in Sacramento, California. Kathy worked at the local Department of Motor Vehicles for a while. She was described as a kind person that would give anyone the shirt off her back. She moved to Fort Bragg and worked various jobs, one at a gas station, a clothing store, a local McDonald's, just really wherever she can pick up some hours. On December 17th, 2004, Kathy and her brother, whom she lived with there in Fort Bragg at the time of her disappearance, got into a small disagreement. Nothing out of the normal, just sibling stuff. I think it was he needed some help painting doors or removing the doors, something like that. Home project, and she said she didn't want to help. And then he got annoyed with her. Kathy walks away from their house, just leaving the situation, and she walks down their gravel road. And her family would never see her again. Her brother stated in an interview, and I quote, "I watched her. She walked away and she glanced back at the house. And I wanted to run out and apologize to her. I kept wanting to apologize. I stopped myself and said, I'll apologize to her the next time I see her." He has been trying to find her ever since. He even offered a $30,000 reward for information in her case.
Wow.
Yeah, though that's not all he does. So we're going to get into, he does more than just put his money out there. There was another person in Kathy's life that has been dedicated for years to finding out what happened. Sheila LaMadrid. She dated Kathy back in the 90s. She even changed her last name to match Kathy's because this was before same sex marriage was legal. But even after they broke up, she kept that name and they remained really close. They just decided they were better as friends. Rumors in a small town are insane, and there have been so many when it comes to Kathy's disappearance. The case went cold very quickly. She was an adult. She walked away from her house without any of her stuff, but literally no one knew what happened to her. There was a number of rumors circulating, and it was hard to decipher what was completely fabricated and what was not. Shelley, who was Kathryn's ex, actually joined the El Dorado County Sheriff's Search and Rescue Unit in 2008. This was so she can learn the ins and outs of finding a missing person, hoping that she could find her friend. Because all of this time, they have no clue where Kathy is at. There's been random sightings of her, but she's never come home. She's never used any of her credit cards. The first big break came in May of 2013. Shelley and two of her friends conducted a search in Fort Bragg with the property's owner's permission. This was an area where they had suspected Kathy's remains could be, based on some of those rumors around town. They spotted something black under the pine needles of this forest. It was a polo shirt, which Kathy's family stated that she had one that looked just like that, and they couldn't find it in her closet after her disappearance. However, it's a black polo. Those are very common types of shirts, so they couldn't for sure know that it was Kathy's. And the shirt also appeared to have blood on it. Shelley was able to get the group of the El Dorado County Search and Rescues to do an unofficial search on this same property. After they had found that shirt out there, she's like, hey, I really want to get some more people out here, get some more help, maybe some equipment, that kind of thing. But it was unofficial because Kathy is just a missing person, not an endangered missing person. So there's no resources available. This search led to them finding a scene that wasn't as old as the original shirt they found. But in this newer scene, they found another black polo, duct tape, and a sleeping bag. All
Yeesh.
of it, yes. This evidence was tagged and bagged, and it was sent to authorities. Shelley wasn't going to sit idly by, though, and wait for all of this evidence to be tested. And, we know how long that could take. She ended up contacting a group that would bring out cadaver dogs to see if they can detect any human remains. In November of 2014, two dogs came out to that same location that those items were found at, and they actually hit on an undisclosed area. So they know where this area is. They just have never released where this is at, but it was around where they found those items. Unfortunately, things were not going their way, and they didn't have the proper equipment to dig. They had one shovel, I believe, and it actually broke while they were out there. So they all packed up for the day, and she needed a professional dig team to come out if they were going to make any headway on digging in this area. And since then, the case has stalled once again. She has not been able to get a dig team out there. Shelley not only is searching for her missing friend, but because now she's a part of the search and rescue team, she's also trying to find any other people. And there had been a few people that had went missing from the area. So that's always in the back of her mind as well. One of the men that she did find was a man by the name of David Clement. She found his remains on December 19th of 2012. This guy was an Army veteran and he had committed suicide. All his family knew, though, was he went for a jog. Shelley had heard about this, that this man was missing. She takes a couple team members, they go out, and they actually find his remains. Based on interviews, you can tell that Shelley has a passion for finding missing people. Like I said, there had been sightings, and I say this in air quotes because zero of these sightings have ever really been confirmed. It's not video surveillance that her brother now takes and looks and, oh, yeah, it confirms that's definitely her. One that I read multiple reports on was a sighting at Disney World in Orlando, Florida, very far away from her home. And apparently, someone that lives in Fort Bragg and knew the case very well stated they saw Kathy there with a woman at the theme park. What's the likelihood of that, is what I want to say. Do you know how many people go to Disney World on the
A
regular?
lot.
Yes.
There's a whole thing. They're called Disney people, like Disney adults. Disney,
Yeah.
like, it's a whole thing.
Yeah, but it's shocking that she just happens to be at Disney World and, oh, there's the girl from the same town that only has a few thousand people.
Yeah.
Possible, but not likely. One of the main rumors in this case came from a local drug dealer. It said that Kathy had been lured out of a local bar. They talked about going on a beer run or something like that. They were all together. And she actually had been raped, murdered, cut up with a chainsaw, rolled
Oh.
up in a rug, and burned in a burn pile just there on a local property. Police did look into this rumor and nothing ever came from it. When I say that there were rumors in this case, there were a lot of drug dealers in this area, so they would say a lot of things to get out of trouble. And you have that $30,000 reward. People would literally come out of the woodworks with lies just to get their hands on that, which is obviously despicable. One last devastating thing about this case is that Kathy's brother, he tried to hire someone to murder a few people. And I can only assume these people are the ones that he thought were involved in his sister's disappearance. All this time, he is constantly at the police, telling them things he's heard, them theories, trying to get them to go investigate different things that he's bringing to him. Finally, the case isn't going anywhere. So he tries to hire someone to commit murder for him.
Oh, because murder for hire is always an excellent option.
Yes, yes. Okay, police obviously receive a tip about this murder for hire plot and they go after Kathy's brother. A detective actually went undercover as a hitman saying, "Oh, yeah, I'll do the job," kind of thing. There was a lot of back and forth. At first, her brother didn't have the money to pay him. And then they decided, oh, he could just sell his house to get the money. He ends up with the money. The hitman slash undercover cop and the brother meet to pay the money and all that stuff, and he is arrested. He pleaded guilty to one count of solicitation for murder, and he stated in court, "I am a broken man. I don't know if I can be fixed, but I hope I can." He spent a few years in jail for this. He has since been released and he has not contacted police again to assist anymore on his sister's case. Kathy LaMadrid was a Caucasian female, 40 years old at the time of her disappearance. She was about 5 feet, 8 inches tall, blonde hair, bluish hazel eyes. Her hair may be dyed black. She dyes her hair frequently. Her left ear is pierced. She has a tattoo of a ring in red and blue. And they say this is very noticeable, this blue and red ring on her finger. She also wears clear contacts or glasses. If you have any information about Kathryn's disappearance, please contact the Mendocino County Sheriff's Office at 707 961 2421.